If you're like me, you read a lot of books and you love reading books, but sometimes it's hard to remember some of the stuff that you read. Now, in the digital age that we live in, I understand it can be very difficult because we have so much distraction going on. There's so many things that are vying for our attention, all of that. And so there are some tools and techniques we can use to actually remember what we read. And the first one, like the big thing that people use, is a Commonplace book. Now, I've used everything under the sun, like every type of notebook possible. I've had, field notes notebooks. I've had different Moleskine style notebooks. Like, here's the thing, when you look at a Moleskine notebook, it's an absolutely great notebook. However, you're not going to keep it with you everywhere you go. And so if you have a Moleskine, one of the biggest issues with one of these is the fact that it is too large to fit in your pocket. And so you can't remember everything you read, because if you don't take your book and your Moleskine with you, you don't remember. So let's talk about all the ways that I can help you remember what you read with your Commonplace book. The first one is this: when you are tempted to pick up your phone, when you're like, I don't know, you're sitting in a doctor's office, something like that, instead of picking up your phone, why don't you go ahead and pick up your pocket notebook that has all of your different quotes. When you're using a Commonplace notebook, it's trying to become commonplace. All the ideas are trying to become commonplace in your life. And so what you do is you end up writing down a lot of quotes of the things that you read. And like I said in the intro of this video, we are just so constantly distracted. But when you can get yourself something like a pocket notebook and keep it with you everywhere you go, then the times where you are tempted to be distracted, just pull this thing out, and then you can go over these ideas from writers that are like so incredibly wise. You can learn from them and just kind of keep chewing on the material. Here's the big thing: nothing is transformative unless you chew on it. Like, with the amount of information overload that exists right now, there's just so many words going in your head, so many thoughts going in your head. But when you have a pocket notebook, something with you on the go, when you feel like picking up your phone, if you pick this up, it just helps you mull over and like go over again the ideas, and it just kind of like works it down into the marrow of your bones. And that's, for me, one of the reasons why I like going to a pocket notebook for a Commonplace notebook, because when I'm chewing on this stuff over and over and over, I actually can take it with me anywhere. Now, one thing I wanted to try to start doing is actually not use my pocket notebook for all of my regular, like my day in and day out grocery shopping list and to-do list and all that kind of stuff. I've been thinking about using the pocket notebook for just quotes, just things that I want to chew on when I have nothing else to think about. And then, because of some of the conveniences of a smartphone, I could use, the Apple Notes app and the Reminder app. Like, one thing I really do love is using an Apple Watch like this and using it to remind myself of things while I'm on the go. Like, you just tell Siri to put it in your Reminders app. That's a really, really helpful tool. And so, as distracting as a phone can be, sometimes I would almost rather just use it as a tool for the things that it's actually really, really good at. And then for the kind of like distraction-free, mulling over ideas, I use the pocket notebook. The next way you can remember everything you read is by using a physical book. There is something about physical books that it's almost magical how well you can remember stuff in them. There's something about the spatial awareness of where something is on a page, the ability to write in a book. If you ever heard of marginalia, it's the ability to write in the side or the columns of the book. And sometimes, man, I don't have any right now that I can see. Oh, look at that. Like, right there, I have a bunch of marginalia. Something about just the spatialness of this, the fact that I can like use my hand and use all my senses in it. You get the smell of the book. There's something about that causes you to remember more than you would have with the digital book. Now, I understand that the Kindle is just so convenient, and you can export all your highlights and all that. There is something to be said for that. But if this is if this is something I'm really trying to make common in my life, there's something about a physical book that I just think is so helpful. So I actually want to know in the comments below, do you guys use physical books more, or do you kind of use a Kindle? Because they are both great tools, but there's something great about physical. The next tip when you're looking at remembering everything you read is take those commonplace quotes that you put into your pocket notebook and then get a larger notebook and something that you can actually long form write down. Take those ideas and start to write them out long form. That way you're taking kind of the short snippets of what the quotes that you had, and then you can make them into something a bit more thought out. Now, I would recommend doing this at least 1 week to 2 weeks after you've written, whatever quotation down. That way it's got a chance, like as you're in the doctor's office or you're going to the bathroom, something like that, as you're kind of mulling it over and you're creating thoughts in your head of like how you feel about it and making your own opinions. Then once you want to like really get down onto paper and like kind of set it in stone what you think about something, you can write it long form. Now, I'm not opposed to using something like, if you're on Mac, the Ulysses app. is the best distraction-free writing app that there is. I write everything in Ulysses, but because this is kind of now a common thing for you, you don't necessarily need to keep it just on paper because you have kind of used paper to like get it into your mind. And now it's just kind of about refining whatever it is you think about that quote or that subject. And so I would say make sure as you're writing these things down, give it 1 or 2 weeks and then use a long form piece of paper or your computer and then write down everything you think about it. Write 2 or 3 pages on it and just try to get everything out there in the paper. That's super helpful for getting what you read and making sure that it sticks long term. Here's an example. I could still tell you, Leo Tolstoy has 13 kids and he gets all his stuff done. That's a silly little quote, a silly little fact, but man, it is stuck in my head forever. When I feel like I just have too much to do and I can't get everything done, I'm like, man, I only got 2 kids and I've got all this technology to help me out. Tolstoy did it. I can do it. I actually think about it a lot that people of the past had pocket notebooks just like you do, and there's literally nothing separating you and your abilities from what they did in the past because you have more tools now. You might have a little bit more distraction, but you can handle that. And the last tip to remember everything you read with a Commonplace notebook is with a field notes, because it is really thin and really light, you're going to take it with you everywhere, but it can't hold a bunch. And so all you do is you take your top like 4, 5, 6 quotes in your entire Commonplace Field Notes notebook and transfer it to a new one. The act of rewriting it will set it in stone in your mind, but it's also bite-sized enough that you don't get overwhelmed. Because one of the things is like when you have a pocket notebook versus, I don't have it with me, but like versus a Moleskine, you fill, man, if you fill that thing up with quotes, it's going to be like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of quotes. And that's a lot to chew on whenever you're looking through it. And so I prefer a field notes because you can only fit so much in there. And then the act of taking it from one notebook and putting it into another just takes everything I've read, all those quotes, and it just really, really cements them in my mind. And just one more quick little tip. When you find a good pen, it makes all the difference in the world. Like this is my favorite pen. It's a brass pen. It's so heavy and like substantial in the hand. And it just reminds me that like when you use stuff that's high quality, it doesn't have to be super expensive, but when it is high quality, it actually makes you want to use it. Like right here, you can see this brass pen. It is $53. That is pretty expensive. However, this thing is literally going to last you the rest of your entire life. I mean, like there is not a day where this brass pen is not going to be actually usable. And in fact, over time, it's going to patina and just look nicer and nicer and nicer. And so I always really want to make the point, when you buy something, make sure you buy once, you cry once, get a good pocket notebook, get a good pen, and you're actually going to want to use it throughout your day. Now I'll make sure I link everything below, all my favorite pocket notebooks and pens and all that kind of stuff, so go ahead and check those out. So let me know in the comments below, what is it that you do to remember everything you read? Are there any tips that you can help us out with beyond what we talked about in this video? Guys, like this video if you found it helpful. Sub to the channel. We're on our way to 3,000, something like that, 2,000, I don't even know, but it's okay. So like the video, sub to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.